Your post meeting order, please.
I did bring it once or twice later.
All right, call meeting order,
Pursuant to section number 5, chapter 231, PL 1975, the notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintain the annual notice of regular meeting, the joint meeting on the bulletin board of the Mayfield Municipal Building, mailing the annual notice of the regular meeting for 2014, Star Ledger, the Home News Tribune, and to the offices of the municipal clerks of 11 member municipalities of the joint meeting, and to the city clerk of the city of Elizabeth, and to the county clerk's office of the counties of Essex and Union County, all on December 30th, 2013.
thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hughes? Ms. Saxon?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Leventhal?
Here.
Ms. Hingham?
Here.
Mr. Rice will be can't attend. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Ms. Levinson?
Present.
Ms. McDermott? Ms. Stengel?
Here.
Mr. Paul?
Here. Okay, stand please for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
The second.
Mr. Hughes, gave a motion. Saxon seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report, you had a comment or any questions on the treasurer's report? Can I have a motion, please?
Move to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was, all right, a report of the committees, the personnel and procurement, Ms. Levin.
We dealt with quite a few topics, this, resolutions earlier, so we'll go through those with you. The first is our insurance renewal. Anthony else
This year, the insurance renewal, staying with Travelers Insurance, came in at 4.83%, which is relatively low. I understand that the average most towns and municipalities are getting is between 6 and 10%. Converting that to dollars, it's an increase over last year of $28,606. Everything else stays the same, all same coverage, everything is last year.
This is a one-year contract.
One-year contract.
Does anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
I need a roll call. Right, roll call?
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Ms. Hingham?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Levinson?
Yes.
Ms. Stengel?
Yes.
Mrs. Paul?
Yes. Next is a,
So just for one, including modifications.
Yes. Okay, I'll leave this to, there are three that CME will address the next three resolutions.
CME was authorized about more than a year ago to design 3 projects which are being funded under the New Jersey Infrastructure Trust Program. Part of that requirement to complete the application, which has to be done about August 1st, is to include professional services agreements for construction administration. The proposals before you, the resolutions before you, contain 3 parts for each of the 3 proposals. And they're all the same, just different amounts because it's different level of work. The one part is the bid phase, which will take place somewhere between October 1st and December 15th, first of the year, that 2-month period. The second 2 parts are for services during construction, which includes office administration, checking shop drawings, and responding to questions that the contractor may have. And the other part is field observation, where we have a man in the field who actually observes and checks to make sure that the work being done is in accordance with the plans, the specifications, and the shop drawings that have previously been approved. Now, that same process is for each one of these three projects. The first project, which I'll discuss, is the cleaning and modifications to digester number one. The work will include cleaning of the digester, changing of some of the piping, changing of some of the compressors, pumps, valves, and modification to piping inside the digester, and a change to the gas dome that's on top of the digester. And the gas dome is designed to collect the gas that's created by the sludge, and that's very important, because the gas, because that's what runs the cogen project, which saves the joint. So on a program basis, the digesters have to be cleaned and upgraded. And we're on, this will be the second one to be upgraded with the new gas dome. There's two more that will be done in the future, a few years down the road. Any questions on this one before I go on? Silence is consent. All right, the next one is the upgrading to the dewatering facilities. Across from the main plant, there's a large building that processes all the sludge that's generated at the treatment plant. What we do there is we condition the sludge with adding polymers to it so that it can be dewatered easier. Then we pump the sludge into a centrifuge where the water is spun out, reducing the amount of sludge that has to be transported off-site. That's replacement of the centrifuge is the biggest part of the job. We're replacing some of the polymer feed equipment, some of the sludge mixing equipment, a couple of pumps. There's several pumps that are going to be replaced, and there's a conveyor that conveys the sludge from the centrifuges to a transportation facility that's on site. That's going to be changed also. So that's the scope of the work to be done. Questions? No? All right. The third project is the aeration tanks. The aeration tanks are really the heart of the treatment plant, where we aerate the sewage, they add oxygen to it to treat it, and there are 4 aeration tanks. There's 8 units, there's 8 aerators in each tank. These aerators are like egg beaters, right? Except it's about 10 feet in diameter, has a shaft about a foot in diameter and a motor on top. And it agitates the wastewater and keeps it in suspension. 16 are going to be replaced at this time for budget purposes. And then a couple years from now, we'll do the other 16. That's the plan, the capital improvement plan that's in place. In addition to replacing the aerators, we'll replace all the wiring associated with it, replacing the source of power, which is called motor control center. There are some valves in the aeration tank that are going to be replaced, with some piping that's going to be removed. There's some control features to vary the speed of the aerators to optimize the amount of oxygen they are transferred. And then each tank will be emptied, cleaned, and if there are any concrete flaws that may have occurred since it went online in the mid-70s, that concrete will be repaired. That's the scope of that job. Again, we do the bid phase services and the construction phase service in the field and in the office.
Okay, are there any questions on these
And also the
three?
plan review.
Pardon?
Also the plan review.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment to the board,
Yes.
just so everybody understands that the dollars involved in these 3 resolutions involve engineering services to create the bid, like you said, for construction, observation, things like that. Once the bids are out, the actual money to do this will be another topic as it comes up. This is not the price for the whole project, this is the price for the engineering services.
But some of that funding would come from the infrastructure.
Yes, yeah, all, matter of fact, all the
Even
funding.
even their bill.
And so just so you know, the timeline of the expenditure,
Even their bill.
yes.
Yeah.
There are-
Their
Well, this is
fees,
very
their
important information.
their expenses come from the infrastructure trust. We're gonna borrow money
Okay.
for the entire project. The entire project includes their fee.
Yes, includes the planning,
So
which has already been done, which is
we're
already done.
borrowing or we're getting a grant? How does this
We're
work?
borrowing.
We're borrowing.
There's no grants. We're borrowing at a very low interest
But
rate.
it's low interest rate, and if you do the math, it equates to about 35% grant over a 20-year period.
Do we get forgiveness as part of it?
That's to be determined. That's, depends what they do down in Washington and Trent.
Anything else?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Kathy earlier this afternoon. The thing is, there's about $1 million for CME in here, in the three packages. And I understand that in the beginning of the year, we make CME our engineer of record. But the question is this wouldn't, we have our own ordinances within South Orange that this wouldn't be allowed on a professional services contract, that each one would have to be done individually. But there's not a
It didn't
sense.
be done individually.
Excuse me?
We're voting on 3 individual contracts.
Yeah, but CME, assigning it to CME would not have happened, would have, that part of it would have to go up for bid. We have a zero tolerance on professional services contracts.
I'm not sure what you mean.
It has to be.
This work would have been going
We
out
have the
for
same
bid
thing.
individually.
Under what conditions?
So you bid your professional services?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
About your town?
yes.
Oh.
Yes, it's our own ordinance. But the question I have is that there isn't a sense of the amount of work, like this is $1 million, when we do that resolution at the beginning of the year. And I'm wondering if that, in the future, we could put some sort of estimate of what that amount of work would be for the year.
Like about how much is budgeted
Yeah.
for that kind of.
I don't know how they.
Let me explain. So when we do it, we identify them as our engineer of record, but every project they do comes before this board and you vote on it. So there is no, they don't have a project when they're named. We just qualify them at the beginning of the year. We don't assign them projects. So when they're assigned a project, you actually vote on it. So there's a 2-part process. So we qualify probably, 8 or 10 or 12 engineering firms at the beginning of the year. So in theory,
Understood.
the administration could pick any of those 12
Yes.
firms. So
At this moment, for these three?
absolutely.
Oh,
This is a recommendation because CME has basically been doing it. I mean, in theory, they could have come in and recommended whatever Joe Blow engineering firm.
Well, now I'm confused.
Okay.
Because if you have 5 or 6 approved engineering firms,
Right.
and you're not asking, or are you asking them to bid on this specific project, how do you know which one to choose? What is it based on?
It's based on experience, it's based on, they've been doing this work here for 25, 30 years. It's based on their knowledge. It's based on
If you've approved
experience.
6 of them, aren't they all
No.
experienced?
No,
when
they're
we go out
qualified.
to- hold
They're
it.
qualified.
But if I could, at the beginning of the year, Sam, myself, and the staff go over the bids.
They're not
They're
bids.
Or
qualifications.
qualifications. They go over the response to the qualifications. We go over them, and Sam, myself, and the staff people rate each one. One of the things that we're required to rate is experience, it's a 0 to 5, is familiarity with joint meeting. We could have, there may be 10,000 engineering firms that are qualified to do this work in the United States of America. There are many, many firms that can do this. Sometimes the difference of a couple of points in responding in our determination on the RFQs is familiarity with the plant. And as Elnardo said, they've been doing it for years, so you could have many firms that are qualified as they are, The deciding factor comes when the staff comes to you with a recommendation. The deciding factor is their familiarity. And do you really want to have somebody that hasn't been, as El Nardo said, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years coming into the plant? But that's a point, so
It's a
that,
different question.
but that's how they get chosen.
Are they chosen on individual projects, by project, of that list?
The
of
staff
projects?
recommends, and then they come to you, and as El Nardo said, you could choose. Now, you could look at, we could give you, Sam could give you a list of all of the qualified firms that have been qualified.
I'm asking a different question. On these three projects, was that list gone through and said CME was the best one qualified to do this?
That, the staff made that recommendation, the answer is
My
yes.
understanding, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That's the question.
But you could see, I think, Sam, am I correct, that at the beginning of the year, you actually vote to accept our recommendation as to qualified firms?
Yes, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. I'd like to have a motion then. We move all three?
No.
No.
We can't, okay.
No.
All right, so I need a motion on,
But it's important to understand that you're essentially borrowing the money in your fees. So you're not actually paying it at operation, you're paying it at the money you borrow. So this project kind of goes into infrastructure trust as a package. And in it is the estimates for all the bidding, the cost, the engineer, everything goes in and they stamp and approve. And then we use that money to run the project. So there's a separate bucket set up. And that pays CME, that pays, all the machine parts and everything come out.
$1 million on top. What percentage would this represent?
I don't know.
Just to piggyback on what I'm
What's
saying,
that?
8 towns out of the 12 are going into the borrowing. The other 4 are paying cash.
What is the total project cost, do you estimate? for-
15.1 million,
15.1.
and the town's borrowing is 12.6,
So all three is 15.1?
approximately.
Yes.
A little less than 30%.
Okay.
so that was, okay.
But the other thing is important to understand is that this is an hourly, these are hourly contracts, and it's an estimate of what we believe based on experience with contractors and how long they take things. If the projects are absolutely concurrent, all right, it could be this amount. If they're not concurrent, one lags another, it may be a little bit less than this. For example, we have another project that we did for you a few years ago that is just about to be closed out. And it'll be closed out and there'll still be about $110,000 not spent. So we don't always spend all this money. Right? And that $110,000 goes right back into the joint meeting general account to be used for other things.
Just to be asked a question, I remember we got a loan, I guess it was 0% of interest for capital improvement. Do we have any of that money left? Or
Usually it's usually what's that?
One is during the hour period.
What do we
So-
want?
Half of that was forgiven.
Right.
that was given?
Half of that was forgiven.
That was 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And anything that was left went to surplus, and surplus got
Got the-
given to everybody at the end of the
So
year.
now you are to do the,
What's the rate right now, infrastructure trust, 1, 2, 1, 3?
It's something very low.
I think it's around 1, 2, 1, 3 right now.
okay, I'm told,
Yeah, 1.2%, 1.3%. I would like to borrow money at 1.2, 1.3%.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we need to vote then on separately on three, okay, I'll call for a motion on resolution number 40, please.
So moved.
second,
Oh, I need a vote, roll call.
you have a roll call?
40 is the first
Yeah,
one.
Good roll call.
Yeah. Christie Hughes,
Yes.
Ms. Saxon,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenthal,
Yes.
Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Levinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Frango,
Yes.
Mr. Florio.
Yes. Okay, resolution 41, which is the awarding facilities upgrade, have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Need a second? Roll call?
Mrs. Hughes,
Yes.
Ms. Saxon,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenthal,
Yes.
Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson? Ms. Stango?
Yes.
Mr. Floyd?
Yes. All right, the last one is resolution number 42 for the aeration system upgrades.
Make a motion for R042.
Sacks, have a second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes? No, I'm doing the roll call.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I
scary.
thought you had to do with exactly.
No. Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes.
Ms. Stango?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Levinson?
Yes.
Ms. Stango?
Yes.
Mr. Floyd?
Yes. Okay, the next item is resolution 43, in agreement with the Great Lakes Environmental Center. Is Joe going to speak to that?
Yes. The Great Lakes Environmental Center has been doing consulting work for the New Jersey Harbor Discharges Group for going on 15, 16 years. And what they do for first of all, the New Jersey Harbor Discharges Group is a consortium of facilities, of authorities, like the Joint Meeting, including Bergen County, Linden, Moselle, Middlesex County, that formed in order to be able to respond to proposed regulations from US EPA and DEP. And this collaborative group also does sampling and analysis of the receiving waters, including the New York Harbor, the Newark Harbor, and the major rivers that contribute to those bodies of water. And this way we can either argue or dispute some of the limits that the regulatory agencies at times are so exuberant that they place upon us without considering real data. So over the years, we have used the Great Lakes Environmental Center for their expertise in negotiating and observing the processes while these things go on. Collectively, this contract is worth about $5,000. The Joint Meeting pays about just short of 11% of that. The others pay the balance in the percentage that's appropriate to their size according to the flow.
Questions? No, I'd ask them for a motion for approval of resolution number 43. Move.
Second.
Any seconds?
No, that was
Mr.
Mr.
Hughes moved it?
No, Mr. Levinson.
Oh. You got it?
Is it control?
Can I have a roll call, please? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Levinson?
Yes.
Ms. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Levinson? Mr. Attorney?
Yes.
Ms. Stango?
Yes.
Mr. Floyd?
Yes. The next is a bid reports or award of executive bids. Resolution 44, I'd like an explanation of this because it's a little confusing up in the previous meeting, the rebuilding and reconditioning of the dewatering centrifuge, which we just talked about. So can you just have an explanation as to why we're doing this?
Sure. The centrifuges are like the motor of a car. They have to be either replaced or remodeled or rebuilt. I don't know exactly, Joe, what does the centrifuge go for, $500,000, $1 million?
Nowadays,
Including the work. In most instances, it comes below this number. So it makes more sense to rebuild these every few years than to replace them for, God knows, $1 million or whatever.
and the bids comprise lists of parts and components that would go into a rebuild if they're found to be needing rebuild. So that commitment is literally the maximum that we should see.
We had 3 bids on April 15th. The low bidder, Andrew Separation, took exception, number one, to the warranty. They wanted to supply their own warranty, which is nice because I'd like to walk into a dealership and give them my warranty. They also took exception to some of the insurance requirements that they have to provide and the hold harmless language. And in discussion with general counsel and staff, it was decided that this bid should be rejected. Therefore, we request the board approve the award of the bid to Alpha Lavelle. Alpha Lavelle is also the manufacturer of this equipment, so they're quite familiar with it.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve, 144, please. Resolution.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Butterfield? Yes. Ms. Kimball?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson? Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Stengel?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes. Resolution 45 has to do with awarding of a contract delivering sodium disulfide. Is that right? Isulfite. Close.
Okay, we accepted bids on May 6th for the provision of sodium bisulfite to the joint meeting. We had 5 bidders. The low bidder was Southern Ionics at $1.24 a gallon, and we're recommending the approval of a 2-year contract to Southern Ionics. This is a commodity and it goes up and down in price. The price we paid the last 2 years was $1.34, so you can see it can go down, possibly go up the next time, who knows?
Any questions? Do we have a motion then on resolution 45?
So moved.
Hughes?
Second.
Second from the attorney first and back. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Butterfield?
Yes.
Ms. Kimball?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Stengel?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes. Next item is resolution 46, providing a contract for the manufacture and delivery of aqueous dispersants.
We put out a bid, we received 2 bids, one from Caris Corporation, the other from George S. Coyne Chemical Company. This product is used to remove struvite, which I guess somebody said is like plaque in the pipes, and we're recommending the award to Caris Corporation for a 2-year contract. They are our present supplier on this. The last contract was 74 cents a pound. The new one is 76.765.
Any questions from the board? A motion then for resolution number 46? Mr. Levinson? Second. Mr. Hughes, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Butterfield?
Yes.
Ms. Kimball?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson? Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Stengel?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes. Next item is resolution number 47, authorizing purchase order for proposed services for iron sponge media removal.
Yes, in April, we saw it, put out for quotation, the removal and cleaning of a new vessel of iron sponge. We had 3 quotes. The low quoter, Nikon Chemical, came in with one exception on it. They did not know what the cost would be and if they needed to replace some of the piping. In fact, the note said, price does not include labor, the pipe on top has to be cut. There's no way for us to know whether that's going to be done. The other Capola services did include everything in their quote. They are the manufacturer and they did it, they installed this equipment originally in the Colgan facility. And it's the recommendation of staff that Capola services be awarded a purchase order.
Any questions from the board? Motion, please, on resolution 47.
So moved.
Second.
Any more? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Butterfield?
Yes.
Kimball?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Florio?
Yes. Next item is resolution 48, authorizing a purchase order to design plastic systems for 2 5,000-gallon storage tanks.
And we requested quotations for the 2 5,000-gallon vertical storage tanks for sodium hypochlorite. The low quoter was design plastic for $22,754, and we request the authorization of the board to authorize a purchase order in that amount.
Any questions? A motion on resolution 48, please.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Hughes, Bangle, second. Roll call.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Florio?
Yes. Okay, the last item is a resolution number 49, indicating our notice to local finance court for compliance with the annual order. Anybody want to speak on that or make a comment? No? We have roll call on this, Dan?
Roll call, and during the closed session, I'll circulate it so the board can sign off that they have read these.
Mr. Turner, you have a question?
I just had one. When I look through this, it says specifically look through general comments and recommendations, but I didn't see any recommendations. I mean, is it?
I can speak to that. Yes, our audit was done this year, and everything worked out well. There were no recommendations.
Okay, I was worried I was missing
Yeah, last
something.
year there was one recommendation that was rectified. This year there were no recommendations whatsoever.
Anybody else? All right, now I'd like a roll call, please, on resolution 49, this is by the roll call. I'm actually asking for a motion, I'm sorry. Is that a second? Yeah, we have a roll call.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Florio?
Yes. Okay, next item is... Thirty-eight is the payment of bills. Have a motion, please. Leventhal, Ms. Jones, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Saxon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson? Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Florio?
Yes. Okay, I think that completes our resolutions. Yeah, okay, I have any correspondence, is a member appointment for South Carolina, just a letter? Yes. Okay. I'd like to receive public comment. Okay, motion to accept some staff reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just looking down here. Public comment?
Was that motion just now for the treatment plan and professional?
It was for professional and staff.
Okay, so that was for both, all right.
Yes.
All right. We're down to number 9, public comment. Any comment from the public? Apparently, we want to go into closed session. Could I have a reason?
Litigation.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go into closed session for litigation, please? Okay. Board, please. All right, do we have any unfinished business?
There's no unfinished business.
New business, there's a notification here of two conferences that are coming up.
NAPA conference in Portland, Oregon, and Web Tech conference in New Orleans. Any board member interested in attending the New Orleans conference, please notify me or Joe by June 20th.
Okay. If I give you any information on that conference, I'm sure you could call Sam and Sam will tell you what it's about. Okay, anything else? All right, next meeting is on June 19th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Attorney, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Have an enjoyable holiday.